Start though.
Thank you.
Sorry. Hold that thought. Well, good evening, everyone. It is 7 o'clock in Gardner, Kansas. Call the meeting to order. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening. We do have a proclamation this evening, and I will come forward and read that. This is for Martin Luther King Jr. Whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. devoted his life to the advancement of civil rights and public service. He believed in a nation of freedom and justice for all, and challenged all citizens to help build a more perfect union and live up to the purpose and potential of America. And whereas Dr. King recognized that everyone can be great because everyone can serve, and during his lifetime encouraged all Americans to serve their neighbors and their communities. And whereas the King Holiday and Service Act, enacted in 1994, designated the King Holiday as a National Day of Volunteer Service. King Day of Service is a nationwide effort to transform the federal holiday honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. into a day of community service, grounded in Dr. King's teachings that help solve social problems while focusing on bringing people together and breaking down the barriers that have divided us as a nation. And whereas the King Day of Service is the only federal holiday commemorated as a National Day of Service, and offers an opportunity for Americans to give back to their communities on the holiday and make an ongoing commitment to service throughout the year. And whereas the Universal Declaration of Human Rights empowers us all, the principles enshrined in the Declaration are as relevant today as they were in 1948. And whereas each of us can and must contribute to making our communities better with increased opportunity for all citizens. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Todd Winters, Mayor of the City of Gardner, Kansas, do hereby proclaim Monday, January 15th, 2024 be designated Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and a day of service in Gardner, and call upon people of the community to pay tribute to the life and works of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. through participation in community service, projects on Martin Luther King Day, and throughout the year. Thank you. This to you over here. And I do believe we have we'll have a display. Tanika will be doing her wonderful work on that. And that will be, what days will that be? The
Friday through Monday. So 12, 13, 14, 15.
encourage everyone to come out to that. She does a tremendous job on that. It's a very awesome thing to see. So, okay, we have no public hearings this evening. Open it up for public comments. And members of the public are welcome to use this time to make comments about city matters or items on the agenda that are not part of the public hearing. If you wish to come forward, please limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. There is a time clock to your left, to our right. No profanity, no personal attacks. With that being said, come forward, state your name and address for the record, and the podium is now open. All right, with no one coming forward, we'll move to consent agenda. Is there an item on the consent agenda that would like to be removed? Do I have a motion for consent agenda?
So moved.
I thought for sure you would be. Motions, Shoot. Second, Deaton. We approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? Consent agenda passes. Planning and zoning consent. Item number 1, consider accepting the dedication right of way and easements on the final plat for Prairie Trace Meadows third plat. Anyone like to discuss that further? Is there a motion on that item?
So moved. Second.
Motion Baldwin, second Ween. Then we approve the planning and zoning consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? Planning and zoning consent passes. Committee recommendations. Number 1, consider adopting ordinance approving a rezoning from RP1 planned single-family residential and RP2 planned two-family residential districts to City of Gardner districts RP-1 and RP-2 and associated revised preliminary development plan for Prairie Trace 23-304-09.
Good evening and Happy New Year. So this application for adoption of the ordinance up tonight is for rezoning. It's basically rezoning a bunch of lots in the Prairie Trace subdivision from going from R2 to R1, and then other parcels going from R1 to R2. So it's a reconfiguration. I think in your packet, and if you want to go ahead and pull up the map. Excellent. This kind of basically spells out what they're trying to accomplish with this. We do have an engineer from Schlegel to answer any questions on behalf of the petitioner. Total acreage is right at 136 acres. Again, this property is right at the southwest corner of Clare Road and 175th Street. And originally this was made up of 136 lots of the, sorry, my bad. Originally this was, the development was 356 lots, and they're going to 353 lots. So they're basically going from 194 suburban lots to 160 lots. And then the smaller lots, which are what we call neighborhood lots, they're going from 162 to 192.
Okay, thank you. We'll open it up to public discussion. Committee recommendation number 1. Seeing none. Questions from council, comments?
I'm assuming this is a market-driven change.
Yes.
Is that correct? Yeah.
All right.
I have no issue.
Is there a motion for committee recommendation number 1?
So moved.
Motion Shoot, second McNair. We accept the recommendation of the Planning Commission and approve ordinance number 2786, an ordinance changing the zoning classification or districts and associated preliminary development plan of certain lands located in the city of Gardner, Kansas, under the authority granted by Title 17 of the Municipal Code of the city of Gardner, Kansas. All in favor?
Aye.
Up, this is an
So,
ordinance.
I was going to say this is
Point of order.
So,
It's an
City
ordinance.
Clerk, yes.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
Councilmember Deaton. Yes. Councilmember Ween.
Yes.
Councilmember Shute.
Yes.
Councilmember McNair.
Yes.
Okay.
Say it with conviction, Casey.
And since this is a rezoning.
Ordinance
point of
number
order-
2.
Point of order again, since this is a rezoning, do you not also have a vote?
I was wondering about that, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Mayor.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure. Ordinance number 2786 passes. Okay. No old business, moving to new business. New business item number 1. Consider authorizing the amendment of section 5.05 of the Gardner Municipal Code relating to soliciting, hawkers, peddling, canvassing, and public auctions. Captain Roberts, welcome. Again.
Happy New Year,
Back.
yes. Glad to see you guys again. We took what you suggested and questioned last time I was here and created 2 options for a permit for you to hopefully accommodate what you guys feel is the best for the citizens of Gardner. The first option is the most in line with all the neighboring cities of Johnson County, as well as our current ordinance, and requires any solicitor to obtain a permit from the Gardner Police Department. This ordinance clarified the definition of a charitable organization. It remains the same licensing requirements as before, but in section F, on the hours of solicitation, we've left those blank. I did some research, and you guys, I believe, received that in your packet. The majority of cities in Johnson County begin their soliciting hours at 10 a.m. With a handful of exceptions. Most of them also go either till 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. We spoke last time that 5 o'clock was probably too early, but 7 o'clock may be been later than most would want somebody knocking on the door or right at that limit. My suggestion would be a 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. hours, but we can discuss that here in a moment. The second ordinance option removes the requirement of a permit. So it removes section C through E, I believe, are the first one. Everything else is the same. It still clarifies what a charitable organization is and leaves the soliciting hours blank. This would still add the prohibited acts, which would require someone to meet that standard to be a solicitor, but it doesn't require the permit. The advantage of requiring a permit is a solicitor be issued an easily identifiable, loud colored card that any citizen could ask, and solicitors are required upon demand to show that card. That would show that they've obtained the permit through the police department. Therefore, we've done as much checking as we can to try to ensure the safety of our residents as we can. Without a permit, those solicitors are still held to that same standard, but the accountability for that is much more difficult because we're relying on someone to hold themselves accountable for that. Is there any questions?
All right, thank you, Kevin. We will open it up to public comment. If there is any. Nope. Okay. Sorry, I'll probably keep looking back. Council, questions, comments? We've kind of discussed this at length last meeting.
So I'll jump in with the time thing. I like 10 to 7.
10 to 7
Yeah.
works for me.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I like 10 to 7 too.
It's just going to be easy.
I'd like to propose a little bit of a change to that. 10 to 7 would be fine. I would like to add the words or dusk, whichever occurs first. That would prevent people walking neighborhoods in the dark.
So typically I'm with you on something that's variable that goes with time as it changes. The problem is then it makes it even more vague as to what's dusk. Is it civil twilight? Is it nautical twilight? Is it 10 minutes after dark? Is it?
And
you
the
know,
other
issue-
I can see with headlights out 2 blocks away. So
And the other issue you run into is that, from the solicitor's perspective, they'd be stopping in the wintertime at like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And,
That's the idea.
Nobody might be home. I mean,
yeah,
limits the.
Okay.
significantly.
We'll withdraw
It's
that.
a decent thought.
I think 7 is a fair compromise.
Yeah, I think 6 does seem a little early, and 7 seems about 8 is too late.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we have
10 to 7.
an agreement on that.
Yeah. The issue of permits.
So I'll start there for you. So I like the idea of a permit. And the reason for that is because then it allows our citizens, if they want to follow back up and they don't have the information for a solicitor or they want to check back in, we have that information at the police level to be able to supply that with the citizen who may want to either raise a complaint or ask a question and I agree that it requires that the solicitor get a permit, but I mean, we're really dealing with making sure the honest people stay honest, I guess, so. No, it's my thought.
Okay.
I have a question, how do we make sure that for vendors, especially, this is gonna apply mostly to small business people, small companies like remodeling companies, fencing companies, tree removal, realtors, pesticide people, mostly professional services for homeowners. And the number of those people all put together could probably be well over 20,000. My question is, how do we notify 20,000 people that could be clear into Missouri? There's a requirement in Gardner, Kansas, that you have to fill out a registration before you can knock a door. I think we're setting something in motion that can put most honest practitioners in violation of the law.
The question I have is, if most municipalities are already running under that
Say again?
ordinance,
What's that?
if most municipalities in Johnson County are running under that ordinance.
Overland Park does not, Olathe does not, Lenexa does not,
They
or does
didn't-
Spring Hill?
They don't require a
No,
permit.
sir.
But we require one today.
Our current ordinance does require a permit.
This isn't a change, this is, we already require one.
Right.
Did anybody see the current? It's pretty vague. It just says you have to register, fill out a form. Doesn't say what they're gonna do with the form, doesn't say what the criteria is. My concern is just simply this. If we get into a situation where, let's say somebody that owns a tree trimming company, is door knocking around a customer in Prairie Village, just as an example, and they get popped for not knowing they're a tree company out of Missouri.
Mhm.
They didn't know that they had to register in Prairie Village to do that. And then they come over here and try to fill out a report, and they won't be able to get one for 5 years. Because, page 3, it says, it shall be unlawful for any person to solicit who has been convicted of a felony, misdemeanor, or ordinance violation involving these items, or the violation of any law regarding the act of soliciting, defined as, in this chapter, as within the past 5 years, anywhere in the country. That's pretty harsh. In my opinion, it's very.
It seems very
It'll
unreasonable.
send a really bad business vibe out of there.
So between what you said and Mark said and Steve said, I haven't heard a strong reason for why the permit is beneficial to the citizens. It's because, like Mark said, if somebody is going to be an upstanding citizen and go get their permit anyway, that's probably not the person you're worried about.
Right.
And the ones that aren't going to get the permit, well, they aren't going to get the permit. So if you don't have one, it's no different. And yeah, you don't have to worry about any of the details that McNear just brought up. I just haven't found a benefit to having the permit.
Mark, I agree with you. I don't see any either. And to go a little bit further, when we start looking at this thing realistically, most people obey the law. And if we, I think what this draft needs to have done, in my opinion, because I do practice door knocking in my business. In fact, in the business I'm in, it's been taught for 50 or 60 years. That's some of the foundational things you do. What I see here is something that somebody could very easily get themselves into violations. But more importantly than that, I think that what this really needs to have around it is a strengthening of what a no solicitor sign is, where it should be displayed. When we was campaigning this fall, we saw them in bushes, we saw them all over the place. I think we need to have some regulation as to where that should be placed and have some fairly significant penalties for people that violate. You wouldn't need registration at that point if we had solicitation signs. And also one other issue is the trespassing. I'd like to see, because if you go up and knock on the door, you've already trespassed before you can even see the sign. So if we're gonna have no trespassing as part of this, no trespassing sign needs to be posted so that it can easily be seen from the public easement, so you don't trespass in the first place. I agree that we need to have strong penalties for people that violate this. I don't think we need to have registration. Mark, that's your reason why.
How many permits do we issue, and how many complaints do we get from citizens about soliciting?
I don't have a number for you. I could say in the last, generally most of our solicitors come in large groups. They're the large companies that bring all their solicitors in at the same time to file and everything. I bet we've had 15 in the last 3 months. Complaints wise, I don't think we've had any. Then the benefit of having the permit is the good people that are doing what they're supposed to be doing and getting the permit. All the resident has to say is, let me see your permit. Cool, they've done the right thing. Without the requirement of the permit, there's no way for that resident to know if they're following the rules. There's 17 cities in Johnson County. Of the 17, 13 require a permit. Only 4 do not. The majority of the cities follow a very, very similar ordinance than ours, with similar terminology. We did clarify in the section on the prohibited acts that the no soliciting or no trespassing sign should be prominently displayed. But I'm not sure we can give them a specific location. I don't think that'd necessarily be fair to give them a specific location. They'd have to display it.
So, what you just said as far as the person getting the permit, then we have a recourse. We know who it was when we have a complaint. But I don't think it's very far of a leap to say the person that violates the ordinance, even with a permit, then wouldn't just not get the permit next time and do the same thing. So, again, I don't see that the permit really gains us anything. And yes, at some point, there's still an onus on the property owner, right? You can post your no soliciting sign, you can post your no trespassing sign. If you hide them in your bushes, that's your problem. If you want them to be displayed, display them. And you can also just not answer the darn door. This isn't a hard thing. So I feel like this is almost in search of difficulties for nothing. And the other thing is the recourse is going to be hard because this is almost like fireworks, right? Somebody came by and knocked, and you guys have no idea who it is until they're 3 blocks away before you get there. Not saying you wouldn't be there faster, just saying there's no guarantees. And, if they're not doing anything when you get there, well, it's like somebody shooting off fireworks on, a couple of nights ago. You can't do anything about it. So I don't think we have much of an enforcement mechanism here. The trespassing thing is already separate. So, yeah, I'm still in the opinion that the permit doesn't gain anything. So we might as well just leave it out.
And permit or no, I think that there's an issue around if they were found to be in violation in another jurisdiction, they couldn't solicit in Gardner for 5 years. That seems to be extremely harsh. It could have been an honest mistake. It could have been,
It came out of 2 packages in Lenexa
yeah.
and Prairie Village. It was in our packet. Another reason why I would say no, we shouldn't need registration. If we're setting a lot of people up in the area, just the general area, become victims of something they didn't even know they were violating. And outside the city of Gardner, how are we going to teach 10 or 15,000 vendors? They have to come and register and run a felony background check on them.
Well,
We're setting them up.
Well, again, the majority of municipalities in Johnson County do have a registration on their books,
Well,
and including ours.
right.
But
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, Steve. I mean, it's a tough nut to crack. But again, it's on that responsibility would be on the vendor to make sure that they're in compliance.
Yeah, I guess I'm saying if you want to do business in Gardner, you have to know the laws. You can't set up a food truck here on Main Street without getting a permit.
That's fair.
What's our turnaround time on permits? So let's say I have a big business and I've got 20 people that I want to canvass this area. We're going to do a background check on all 20 people. If I want to do that, I come to you guys. How quickly?
It's manpower based, but an hour or 2, we can get a turnaround. Usually we come in, fill out, gather the information, and we call them as soon as they're done the next day or so, but the turnaround is just manpower based, so.
Okay.
Sounds like we're a bit about it. We have a
Yeah, we have a-
motion and with one or the other and see how it goes.
Hmm.
Sure.
I'm trying to think about the. I'd like to make an amendment if that's possible for folks here.
Throw it out here once.
The amendment would be to strike the provision about previous offenses having the wait of 5 years of not being able to do business in the city of Gardner. I
But you
think
still
that's.
need the permit.
if we are requiring a permit, we would have to strike that, because I'm not gonna approve it if otherwise.
Yeah,
I think
I mean,
that's,
that would be fine if you were doing that, I still don't see the benefit of the permit, right? If you have a license or a permit, you either wanna restrict somebody from doing something, we
Mhm.
don't wanna restrict people from doing this, right? We've already established that for business. You're hoping that there's some sort of guarantee that they've been checked out, done a good job, right? You know,
Mhm.
your HVAC guy knows what he's doing, he's not gonna spray Freon all over the atmosphere, right? So,
that's part of their licensure process, though.
right, but here, we're not really gaining anything from this check. They got a piece of paper that says that somebody ran a background check on them.
Mm-hmm.
Big deal. And that's assuming that they even have the piece of paper, right? So what's the difference from the people that don't have the piece of paper? Because by the time I have the interaction to find out if you have the piece of paper and they're a bad guy, I have a problem. So I don't really see how that gains me anything in that regard. So, and then if you have it, yeah, you can set it up to where now it's an issue for somebody for the 5 years or whatever else. So I don't know. I guess I'm beating a dead horse here.
Well, you also might be of the argument that even with a licensure or a permit, that won't stop by itself fraudulent activity.
Correct.
It could happen anyway.
I've got some issues with some of the definitions too.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Yep.
I had a couple issues with some of the definitions. One of them looks like they were trying to set this up to make it so that the farmer's market would have to be compliant. But they did one thing that, that sets our farmer's market people up for violation. And that is it has to be Kansas-based produce, Kansas-raised produce. And in the beginning of the season, they were gonna be bringing stuff in that was, grown out of state. And that's a clear part of that. And then when we go down to peddle as a definition, that is operate from a temporary stand. So we're gonna make all the kids selling lemonade go get permits?
That's covered under the charitable definition, that it wouldn't
It's a
require
charity.
that.
That's a for-profit enterprise. Yeah.
I get, if you want to define a child selling lemonade, then I guess so.
It's an entrepreneurial activity. If someone else is in violation, they would be too, because it's a temporary stand for selling product for profit.
I mean, I would hope if we did require a permit, that's one of those things that you can go
No,
online for the lemonade stand and you can teach the kids.
I'm just being-
Just do this and it's automatic and there's no background
Trying to
check.
point out the
But
absurdity of it.
I'm with you. I mean, I'm fine with teaching the kids business etiquette. I don't think that's the point of this, so.
And Councilman Shute, as far as your question about the 5 years, and
5-year
stuff,
limitation.
it does state it's a conviction of, therefore it would have to be cited and continued through the
Adjudicated.
court of
Yeah, it would
whichever
have to be
municipality.
adjudicated. Yep.
Our practice, I can't speak for any other municipality in Johnson County. Our practice would essentially, first option would be a warning. We're not out to affect business in our town. We want to encourage the business. We just want to encourage business to follow the rules like everyone else should. So that would be I guess my only explanation for
Okay.
that would be the conviction standpoint.
Yeah.
To Steve's point, could we strike the, within the state of Kansas from that, no license shall be required for solicitors, hawkers, or peddlers engaged in the sale of farm or garden products or fruits grown by said persons, period?
Yeah. I think there were 2 vendors at the farmer's market this year that were coming from Missouri. I think one was from Parkville. And we didn't want to say you can't do business in Kansas in our farmer's market without a permit.
Well, they were bringing like fruits,
I know.
early season peaches and stuff from other states, and
Georgia
it was-
peaches.
they were
Yep.
there to serve our community,
Yep.
provide us good produce, and there's no sense of making violators out of them.
Yep.
Well, I move that we accept ordinance 2787 without the requirement for a permit. And
Second.
any of those, all of those amendments thus far.
10 to 7.
The 10 to 7, Steve McNear's, obviously it doesn't.
Steve's.
Yeah, the other Steve doesn't matter if I don't have a permit.
I'll second
Motion on the
that.
floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion Baldwin, second McNear, that we adopt ordinance number 2787, removing the requirement for a permit. An ordinance of the City of Gardner, Kansas, amending section 5.05 of the Gardner Municipal Code relating to soliciting, hawkers, peddling, canvassing, and public auctions, with the noted change to remove the within the state of Kansas.
What about the peddling definition? Lemonade stand?
Oh, do we need to change that?
You're not requiring a permit.
You're not requiring a permit so they can do it.
I mean, they could still be in violation of this, and I guess,
If they're in their own yard, they wouldn't be, but.
well, technically.
But if that's negated under the charitable and the children.
Well, first, I hope nobody would do anything about that. Secondly, if they do, we can always revisit this and be like, hey, we've had 43 kids that have peddled lemonade in this town. Let's do something about that.
Could we offer, can I offer an amendment to that then? How about anyone under the age of 18 is exempted? That would get kids, school kids, and lemonade kids, and minors.
Fundraisers for high schools and
Then
junior high schools.
businesses could just hire a bunch of 14 through 16-year-olds to go hand out all their stuff.
Okay, but they could if they really wanted to get around the law. But the point of this would be to say anyone under the age 18 would be exempt. You know, because
I'd like it as it is, and then we'll see about
Yeah.
Well,
complaints.
what are you, I guess, what are you exempt from? If you're not, I go back to. you
okay,
don't have
I
a-
take that back. If we're taking the registration out, yeah, there's no reason.
Yeah.
Right, they would still be in violation of peddling, right?
If
Yeah.
someone decided.
If somebody,
Wanted to push it.
exactly, and I'm hoping most citizens are
I
going,
don't
this
think they
isn't an
will.
issue.
I don't think they would.
And the people that are an issue, well,
And if we
Yeah,
haven't
well-
been getting complaints as it is, I don't think changing it in this way is going to change the amount of complaints that we get.
So do we want to recap that motion?
I sure can. Ordinance 2787, so removing the requirement for a permit, removing within the state of Kansas from the license requirement.
Which there wouldn't need to be anyway, because there's no license required.
Okay.
I guess the question I've
That-
got here
that's
is,
true.
does
Yep.
this even need to be?
There you go.
It
So
is not
removing
needed.
the requirement for a permit.
And then
Period.
adding the 10 to 7.
With the
Setting
times
the
from
time.
10 to 7. Yeah. All right, the motion is second.
Well, I got it.
All.
Is it?
it's an ordinance.
It's an ordinance.
Sorry. Call roll, please.
All right, Councilmember Deaton,
Yes.
Councilmember Weems,
Yes.
Councilmember Shu,
Yes.
Councilmember McNear,
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
All right. Ordinance number 2787 passes with noted change.
Yeah. That might require a bit of a rewrite for that ordinance. We're striking all references to licenses.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. All right. That concludes new business. Okay. So we will move on to council updates. Why don't we start with Chief Waldeck? Thank you, Captain, for your work.
We had a new police officer started today. He will start the academy in February, and we have a recruit that graduates February 2nd.
Great.
And we are entering the final stages of our sergeant promotion process.
Good, very good.
super. So how are we looking on our staffing numbers, Chief?
We are, I believe, 4 down. We
4 down.
do have, I believe, 3 sworn in the process right now,
Okay,
which is very encouraging.
Yeah, that's great.
as long as they stay around once they get done.
Yes.
I guess we had one that left after a week or something like that.
We did
Yeah.
have one that went through the academy and he left at the end of his field training,
Yeah.
which is just decided that law enforcement was not gonna.
Difficult field.
Yeah. Well, it's good to know now, but it's also kind of difficult when you put that kind of investment into them, so,
Yes.
yeah. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief, yeah. City Clerk? Finance, Matt?
Nothing tonight.
City Attorney?
Nothing for me.
Welcome back. Parks and Rec, Jason?
Nothing tonight.
Mr. Case, anything with community development?
Tonight?
Kellen?
Nothing tonight.
Okay.
Just a quick update on health insurance. We are still pursuing options. We expect to get bids from whoever puts in a bid in February, so we're pushing as hard as we can to get it as soon as we can because we have some tough decisions to make. So
Yeah.
we're pushing forward.
So, silly question. Since we're pretty sure we won't be able to keep our current vendor,
Well, they're out. So everybody got, this week, the employees got a letter from Humana saying that they were getting out of group health insurance. That had nothing to do with our particular situation. Everybody
Kansas.
got one.
so if we get 0 bids, where are we then?
We are self-insurance or the ICRA program.
Okay.
So, and our consultant is asking that, they thought that maybe we only got one bid last time because the bids were so much higher than what we were paying the year before. She's asked them to, regardless of what it is, please submit a bid, so.
Alright, thank you.
Scary proposition. Just give us any number, we'll have to take it.
Well, we don't have to take it, but we'd like to see the numbers anyway.
I hope she did word it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Okay, thank you. Councilman Shute?
Wow, I'm first. It's been a while since I've been first. Couple of things real quick. How are we looking do we have any idea of our year-end numbers and how they might have shaken out, Matt?
The year-end process takes a while.
Do you have a,
We actually keep accounting period 13 open for
Yeah.
basically through about middle of February, just so we can
Yeah.
collect all the invoices.
your audit period? Yeah, I understand that.
But we'll have preliminary numbers in February, and then we'll have audited numbers in June.
But based on our trends, it looks like we're well within our expenditure levels, correct?
We believe expenditures will be kind of where the budget is, and
Mhm.
revenues also. In
Okay.
prior years, our revenues were exceeding budget, but our projections are pretty on point this time.
They're on point. Oh, that's good. That's good. Okay. The only other thing I had was a friend of the city and member of Gardner Grange, Eldon Rothwell, a friend of mine and wife of Linda Rothwell, passed away this past weekend. He was a big contributor to the community through the Grange and other organizations, and he will be missed. I just wanted to make that acknowledgement from the dais. So I believe there's funeral arrangements pending, and we'll let folks know when that happens.
Thank you, Steve.
Yep.
Councilman McNair?
I don't have anything.
Councilman Wayne?
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
Council Vice President?
Nothing tonight.
I didn't think you'd have too much, yeah.
I did have a speech prepared.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough.
Filibuster.
Council President?
Nothing tonight.
I don't think everything is well. We do have an executive session.
We need, and I'm gonna request we add a second one.
Okay.
I'll give you the.
Do you want to do this one first?
Yeah.
Or, okay. Is there a motion to enter to executive session?
Second.
Motion McNair, second Shoot, that we recess into executive session to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel relating to the city administrator's annual performance review pursuant to KSA 75-4319B1, beginning at, it is 7:40,
7:38.
7:38,
7:39.
7:39?
Yeah.
And how long do we need?
Yeah, 10 minutes.
Let's say 15, just to be safe. So returning at
54.
7:54 p.m. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained?
I'm not that skinny anymore.
Yeah, we're not.
right, at 7:54, do I have a motion to return
So
to
moved.
session? Motion Deaton, second
McNair.
McNair. Return to regular session, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, abstain. Back in session. Is there a motion to enter back into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Shoot, second Baldwin. We consider entering into executive session for the purpose of engaging in preliminary discussion relating to the acquisition of real property pursuant to KSA 75-4319B6. Beginning at 7:55, returning at 8:05. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, abstain? Back into executive session. aye. Do we have a motion to resume?
So moved.
Second.
Motion shoot, second. We resume. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstained. Back in session. Do I have a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Motion McNear, second Ween, that we adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, abstained.